Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, Crossing New Frontiers to Conquer Today's Challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine.
I'm Philip Emeagwali. I am the subject of school reports because I invented a new supercomputer that was the precursor to the modern supercomputer. I invented a new supercomputer that is a small copy of a new internet. The new internet that I invented is defined and outlined by an ensemble of 65,536 commodity off-the-shelf processors that are identical to each other and that are equal distances afar and apart from each other. That new internet is complex, abstract, and a mystery. The 65,536 processors of my new internet were married together by 1,048,576 bidirectional email wires and married together as a new supercomputer and computed cohesively and did so as one new integrated supercomputer and computed seamlessly as one new internet. My 64 binary thousand processors that outlined my new internet communicated via emails and did so with a complexity that I cannot completely describe in words alone. Nor can I completely describe my processor-to-processor email exchanges and completely describe them as equations on a blackboard alone, or completely describe them as algorithms on a motherboard alone. I began supercomputing at age 19 on June 20, 1974 in Corvallis, Oregon, United States. I was the lone wolf and the only full-time programmer of the fastest supercomputer of the 1980s. Today, the fastest supercomputer costs the budget of a small nation. The fastest supercomputer is programmed by thousands of supercomputer scientists. The fastest supercomputer occupies the space of a soccer field. The holy grail of the fastest possible supercomputer is to marry together all the processors in the world and marry them to all the computers in the world and marry them to all the supercomputers in the world and marry processors and computers and supercomputers together and as a never before seen internet that will become a never before seen planetary sized supercomputer that will turn our science fiction to our descendants non-fiction. I'm Philip Emeagwali. I am the massively parallel processing supercomputer scientist that conducted research alone. I am the massively parallel processing supercomputer scientist that conducted research alone and conducted it from the age of 19 in Corvallis, Oregon, United States, to the age of 35 in Los Alamos, New Mexico, United States. To the supercomputer scientist, Los Alamos, New Mexico is the capital of supercomputing. Prior to my experimental discovery of the massively parallel processing supercomputer that occurred on the 4th of July of 1989, it was said that parallel processing is a beautiful theory that lacked experimental confirmation. Prior to the 4th of July of 1989, I was the unknown supercomputer scientist who told his massively parallel processing supercomputer story alone and told it to no supercomputer scientist in particular. In fact, my 1057-page report that I distributed to vector processing supercomputer scientists of the 1980s and that described my new supercomputer was at first thrown into the trash. After my experimental discovery of the massively parallel processing supercomputer that occurred on the 4th of July of 1989, I became a known supercomputer scientist, and those that threw my 1057-page report into the trash wanted to become my new best friend and clamored to retell the story of how I experimentally discovered the massively parallel processing supercomputer that is a new internet. As I became more known, I discovered that many insidious voices were clamoring to retell my story and to retell it in their visions rather than in my original vision. I discovered that there are 1,000 secondary voices can drown my primary voice. I discovered that the story of my new supercomputer, that is not a computer per se, but that is a new internet de facto, was reduced to a cacophony of secondary voices. I want to redeem my story and reclaim my voice and make my voice the loudest voice in the world of the modern supercomputer, and make my voice to be continuously heard, to be the most continuously heard voice in the history of the internet. Each of my processor within my ensemble of 65,536 processors had its unique name, that's also its unique email address, that's 16 bits long. I used a binary reflected code to generate my 64 binary 1,000 unique names that were each a unique string of 16 zeros and ones. With the binary reflected internet naming scheme that I used, if two email addresses differ by only 1 bit, then the processors that corresponded to those two email addresses differ by only 1 bit. And those two processors were directly connected. That connection allows nearest neighbor email communications that maximizes the speed I could attain while executing my floating point arithmetical operations. My 64 binary 1,000 emails traveled across 1 binary million or 1,048,576 bidirectional email wires.
insightful and brilliant lecture.